Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahabe Kajura, but first are the headlines. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni implores ISO officers to be alive to global security threats. Medical workers protest unfair termination of COVID-19 specialists' contracts. IGG to investigate cash bonanza in 2.5 billion shillings Olanyabari budget. In our sports today, Busoga United win against Toro United to boost survival hopes. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. Now, a total of 62 officers from external security organization have passed out at the Marine Training Wing, Butiaba in Bulisa district after successfully completing a basic military training course. We have the details.
Presiding over the ceremony, President Museveni observed that ideological commitment, technical competence and discipline are key to the success of any government personnel. President Museveni told them that when they came into the system, they ensured that they not only had officers at the headquarters, but also a Gombola internal security officer at every sub-county, adding that with EGISO, there should be no corruption in the health, education, agriculture and any other sector. He stated that the trainees should always determine the method to use, both human and technical, while bearing security in mind. He emphasized the use of new technology to deal with global security threats, saying in World War II, the reason why Germany was defeated was because of new technology. He said the role of ISO is to deal with threats of terrorism, monitoring the diaspora, detecting political corruption and diffusing subversion. The Director General ISO, Joseph Ochwet, thanked the President for the remarkable improvement in the welfare of his officers, which he said has fostered greater unity within the organization more than ever before. The Minister of Security, Major General Jim Muhwezi, said he was grateful to UPDF for working in harmony with all other security agencies to bolster the security of the country. He appealed to all ISO staff to widen and broaden their minds to new emerging security challenges, including cybercrime.
Health workers under their umbrella of body, the Uganda Medical Association, have expressed disappointment after Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Dr. Diana Twine issued termination letters to COVID-19 specialists out of all government hospitals with immediate effect. Nalugo has the details.
According to Dr. Samuel Oledu, the President, Uganda Medical Association, it was a surprise to them that after these medics fought foot and teeth to end COVID-19 in Uganda, that actually killed over 3,000 people, Ministry of Health rewarded them termination letters.
He has to look at pediatric cases, children. And now you're saying, yes, you've done a good job, go back and sit home. How do you train a soldier? Give a soldier a gun. And after training, you tell him, you know what, we don't have deployment. Can you go and sit home with this gun of yours? When we get space, we can call you. Health workers are soldiers of disease.
The nursing officer, Mulago National Hospital, Maria Nantai, who has been as well terminated, said that 2 years while working in the pandemic haven't been easy because their lives have been at risk, adding that they haven't been paid 6 months as they demanded for the pay. Instead, they have been fired.
When it comes to the validation process that wasted our time, people made us photocopy many piles of papers, wasting our quality to earn the money, and then here you're dumping us. What do we call that? So I think we are appealing to the government, the concerned bodies, PS plus your body. Please pay us our salary. If this salary does not come into account this week, another action should be taken.
It is upon this that health workers have given an ultimatum of 7 days to the Ministry of Health to retract their statements and address their issues.
And as Uganda Medical Association, if government does not come clear to address this issue of fully recruiting these individuals back to their places of work, we have the legal team. We shall tussle out this issue with our legal team, SEHAD. They are totally aware of this. You cannot write two contradictory letters that we are taking up. Now we are not taking up, no.
Over 1,000 medics are likely to remain jobless following the termination of their contracts by the Ministry of Health on Tuesday.
Away from that, the Inspectorate of Government, Betty Kamya, has prevailed. She has taken interest in the budget for the state burial of former Speaker of the 11th Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah. Government earlier this week announced that Oulanyah's burial would cost 2.5 billion shillings. According to the tweet by the IGG, Betty Kamya, on Wednesday afternoon, the spirit of the departed speaker must be horrified by the obscene cash bonanza in the funeral expenses, which he would not allow it if he had a choice. The budget prepared by the National Organizing Committee chaired by the Presidency Minister Millie Babalanda will include, among others, 13.5 million shillings for health services, 2.8 million shillings for seating and ushering, 75 million shillings for A+ funeral services, 8.9 million for decoration, 26 million for accreditation, 10.5 million for first aid, 60 million shillings for COVID testing, 18 million shillings for publicity, and 319 million for security, among other items. Following the release of the program, several members of the public have since questioned the budget, with many saying it has been inflated. Government on Tuesday released a week-long program for the return and burial of the deceased Speaker of the 11th Parliament. The deceased's body will arrive at Entebbe International Airport on Friday, April 1st, 2022, aboard Ethiopian Airlines, and will lie at the home of the Speaker in Muyenga on Sunday and Monday for friends and well-wishers to pay their last respects. On Tuesday, the body will be moved to the Parliament of Uganda, where the Speaker Anita Among will lead the members of Parliament to pay their final respects, and will be buried on Friday at the deceased's ancestral home at Lalogi village in Omoro. Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with our international news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In international news, General Abdel Fattah, who has been in power in Sudan since the October 25th coup, began his first official visit to Cairo on Wednesday, where he met with the Egyptian president, according to official television. We have the details.
A live broadcast ceremony marked the arrival of Mr. Burhan, who was accompanied by the head of the intelligence services, according to the Sovereign Council, the highest authority in Sudan. The general was welcomed at the presidential palace by Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, according to images broadcast by Egyptian television. Since General Burhan's coup on October 25th, thousands of demonstrators have been marching regularly in Sudan to denounce the repression, which has left at least 92 dead, according to doctors, and the military's stronghold on politics and the economy. The coup put an end to a fragile power-sharing agreement between civilians and the military after the removal of President Omar al-Bashir in 2019. Bashir had ruled the country with an iron fist for nearly 30 years. Both Cairo and Khartoum have been hit hard by inflation since Russia's February 24th invasion of Ukraine and are worried about their grain imports. Egypt is the largest importer of Russian and Ukrainian wheat. On the other hand, Sudan has continued to struggle with its economy due to the remaining sanctions imposed on it. As a result, Khartoum, that lost international aid, is being squeezed by rising grain, electricity and oil prices.
Away from that, Zimbabwe has begun redistributing unused land that was given to black farmers during President Robert Mugabe's bloody land reforms in the early 2000s, according to Agriculture Ministry Anxious Masuka on Wednesday.
Agriculture Minister Anxious Masuka said that the lands will be redistributed to aspiring farmers and added that those who are on a waiting list established since the last reforms and those who own more than one farm or whose farms are abandoned will face expropriation. In 2000, late President Robert Mugabe had white farmers possibly expropriated from the country in order to reallocate their land to black farmers. The move was intended to correct inequalities resulting from British colonialism, but in fact those close to the government benefited greatly from this redistribution. The new owners, poorly trained and ill-equipped, had left large tracts of arable land unused, and the country now suffers from chronic food shortages. After the fall of Robert Mugabe in 2017, his successor Emmerson Mnangagwa promised to heal the wounds of the land reforms and even to compensate expropriated farmers. Masuka said that some white farmers have already been allowed to reclaim land through local partnerships.
Moving on, the East African Community heads of states approved the Democratic Republic of Congo membership into the community on Tuesday. Now, in Africa's second largest country, however, the move has raised concern about the profitability and its impact on the Congolese economy. It is now official. The Democratic Republic of Congo became on Tuesday the 7th member state of the East African Community. Congolese President Tshisekedi launched the organization when giving a speech at the virtual summit meeting, when he said that he had always considered that the East African Community was the best compared to the other sub-regional economic blocs in Africa in terms of free movement of people and goods, infrastructure, integration and trade. Felix Tshisekedi also suggested the creation of a new body within the organization that will be responsible for the environment, natural resources and mining. The Democratic Republic of Congo submitted its official application in 2019, hoping to boost trade and strengthen political ties with neighbors. However, some experts fear the country might be doing so at the expense of its security. Stuart Muhindo analyzes beliefs that they are exposed in terms of security because they are now part of an organization that also has states that have been hostile, adding that their economic environment is not good enough and that risks making them a market for other states to sell off their products. The East African Community combined GPD in 2019 was of $193 billion. Moving on, in Senegal, with less than a few days to go before Ramadan, the month of fasting for Muslims, Senegal is experiencing an increase in the price of basic foodstuffs. Now, many residents are lamenting the increase in prices, with some in the capital Dakar pointing to the closure of Senegal's border with Mali as the main cause. We have the details. According to Ndeye Marie Diop in Dakar, the closure of the Mali border has made things worse because there are products that Senegal does not have and that leave Guinea, Mali, or the Ivory Coast, and that inevitably one must pass through Mali before going to Senegal. ECOWAS and the West African Economic and Monetary Union in January imposed a range of economic and diplomatic measures against Mali, including border closures. The move was made to deal a blow to Mali's junta, whose intention to remain in power for several more years, the regional bloc described as totally unacceptable. But people in countries like Senegal, which shares borders with the Sahelian nation, are also bearing the brunt. There are not only analysts have noted or observed price increases in other West African nations such as Nigeria, Gambia, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. Ramadan for millions of Muslims around the globe has been upended for 2 years running due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Freight costs have been significantly higher, and there has been a disruption of the food supply chain. The war in Ukraine has also sparked a rise in prices of basic goods, particularly those made with wheat or oil. Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, health and sports. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In the business news, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Algeria on Wednesday amid calls for the country to boost gas exports to Europe after prices soared following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, Algeria is Africa's biggest natural gas exporter. We have the details.
The visit is the latest stage of Blinken's Middle East tour that has already seen him visit Israel, the West Bank and Morocco. Blinken met Foreign Minister Ramten Lamamra and President Abdulmajid Tebboune for a working lunch. It's thought he may use the trip to urge Algeria to reopen a pipeline that carried Algerian natural gas through Moroccan territory to Spain to help European countries reduce their energy dependence on Russia. The GME pipeline closed last year after Algiers declined to renew a 25-year export deal following a spike in tensions with Rabat. Algerian media reported earlier this month that the government had rejected a request by Blinken's deputy, Wendy Sherman, to reopen the conduit. Blinken has emphasized U.S. solidarity with Ukraine as he meets with leaders and diplomats to discuss other issues. State Department official Yil Lampet said Blinken was to discuss regional security and stability, commercial cooperation and advancing human rights and fundamental freedom.
Talking matters health, a population boom is intensifying pressure on scarce water resources in Senegal's semi-arid capital of 5 million people, according to a World Bank report which pointed to poor management along with overexploitation as part of the reason for shortages. Take a look at the story. A population boom in Senegal is intensifying pressure on scarce water resources in its semi-arid capital of 5 million people, with problems set to increase over the coming decades. This is common to many African cities where infrastructure investments have lagged behind strong demographics and demand for water from industry and agriculture. In Dakar, a recent World Bank report pointed to poor water management as part of the reason for shortages, along with overexploitation and groundwater pollution. But demand for water has kept increasing too, sending municipal officials racing to improve infrastructure to secure supply. Senegal's government, for its part, said 99% of urbanites and 91% of rural dwellers had access to water. The authorities are pushing to remedy supply issues in the capital, and the government says it has made considerable infrastructure investments. Babungom from the state water company Sons said new investments meant that supply would soon match demand. Dakar is supplied by 4 plants that pump water from a lake some 250 kilometers north of the city, as well as from overexploited aquifers. Despite improvements, a question mark still hangs over Dakar's future water supply. According to the World Bank, Senegalese water consumption is due to increase between 30 and 60% by 2035. In a sports news today, Busoga United moved closer to safety after claiming maximum points against fellow relegation candidates Choro United. Now the ginger-best outfit and had fought 1-0 win on Wednesday at Kachindu Stadium to 5 points clear of the drop zone. Striker Anwar Mustafa Ntege scored the lone goal as Busoga United piled more misery on bottom-place Story United. Ntege struck home the all-important goal in the 57th minute when captain Anthony Mayanja tied him up. This was the third win for Busoga United at Kachindu Stadium this season since relocating from Chabazinga Stadium Bugembe. Victory moved Abe Bugere Chikomeko's charges to 11 plus on 25 points, 5 above the relegation zone, with their next game coming away to another relegation candidate, Salt Low Bright Stars FC. Toro United, on the other hand, remain stuck at the base of the table with 10 points, and they will host Wounded Wakiso Giants in their next fixture. Thank you so much for being a loyal audience. From where we started from, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We should keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.